Good morning. I'm Daniel Guest, and welcome to the Imagine Golf podcast brought to you by Imagine Golf and PXG. You can go to our site, imaginegolf.com, and see all of our offerings, including our free drills, our practice plans, our golf ebooks and videos, or to book a lesson with me at our state-of-the-art studio right outside of Philadelphia, or even virtually through our partner, golfliveapp.com. Hey, I don't normally do controversial kind of podcasts, if you would, or even talk about controversial subjects. And, in the scheme of things, this isn't really that controversial, basically. But it's around all this talk around the Ryder Cup selection, Zach Johnson's Ryder Cup selections, right? The captain's picks. And it's interesting, man. We give about 300 lessons a month here at Imagine. And in the past 2 weeks, so if you talk about just the last probably 150 plus lessons, right? I guarantee we've had at least 100 conversations around the Ryder Cup, right? And it amazes me how many people are interested in the Ryder Cup and how many opinions there are around the Ryder Cup, and more importantly, for this topic today, the selections that the captain made. So look. It is what it is, right? I mean, he has Zach Johnson, the captain. By the way, Zach, he's not the only one that makes the decisions. Just so you know, he has 6 people that actually make the team just through qualifying. We'll talk about what you got to do to qualify for those who don't know. And then he has like 6 assistant coaches, man. The assistant coaches this year are like Jim Furyk, Steve Stricker, Davis Love III, Freddie Couples, and I'm one more is escaping me. But so when you think about it, right? I mean, I guarantee you, Zach Johnson has a conversation with those people in the room, right? The assistant captains, right? And then I also guarantee you that those people, those 7 individuals, have a conversation with the 6 automatic qualifiers, and they have a conversation about who they want to add to the team. If you don't think those conversations happen, you're out of your mind, right? He doesn't make Zach Johnson or the captain any year. The Ryder Cup captain doesn't make these decisions in a vacuum, man. He makes these decisions with the advice of the council, if you would, or of the people that are going on the trip or going to be in the locker room, the said locker room, if you would. So, look, I personally, I don't think there's any controversy here, because it's his pick. They're the term is called, or the selections are called captain's picks for a reason, right? It doesn't say, here's the criteria that you have to qualify. There's no qualification to the pick other than it's the captain's choice. So I really don't understand the controversy. I mean, can you make arguments that some people are more qualified than the next to get in? Yeah, of course you can. All right. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. The captain has a choice. He gets to pick 6 slots out of the 12. And that's exactly what he did, right? We're not talking about, a real controversy, which would be like, this person got cheated out of qualifying because they, some rule change or something like that, right? We're just talking about, hey, how it's currently set up and the way that the teams are selected. He did exactly what he did. So for those of you that don't know, right, there's 6 slots that are automatic, meaning you qualify for points from events from January 1st, usually through the end of or middle of August, if you would. And it's a simple system, like events between, and it's based on really earnings, if you would, right? It's a little convoluted. I'll explain it to you really quick. Look, events between January 1st and the BMW Championship, right? So January 1st, the first of the year, and the BMW Championship, whenever they decide that's going to be, golfers earn 1 point for every $1,000 that they earn at that event, right? So 1 point for every 1,000, right? The winner of any one of the any one of the majors, the Masters, PGA Championship, the U.S. Open, and the Open, they earn 2 points for every $1,000 earned, right? A little bit more pressure, a little bit more prestige, a lot more pressure, a lot harder courses potentially, right? And so you get 2 points for that same 1,000, all right? And players who make the cut at major championships, but don't win, they earn 1.5, right? For all for each $1,000 earned. So they add up all those points, 2,600 point, whatever the number is, and they just add them all up. Then a cut line is established in the top 6. All right, you get no points for any of these opposite, they call them opposite field tournaments. These are tournaments like they run the exact opposite times of some major tournaments or just big tournaments. An example would be the Puerto Rico Open, right? That's always played on the backs of Bay Hill, if you will, the Arnold Palmer Invitational. The Barracuda Championship, I think that's down in the Caribbean, if you would. That's always played against the backdrop of against the British Open, if you would. So you get no points for those events because the competition is watered down significantly. So that's how people get on the team, right? So you got those top six, and then the captains typically look at those top six and they try to field, if you would, or pick the next best six people that would fit in with those six, right? So there's no qualification as to, oh, this guy's got a great Ryder Cup record, right? Because if you look at some of the players, by the way, the people that made it, right? The people that were the captain's picks: Bruce Koepka, Jordan Spieth, Colin Morikawa, Ricky Fowler, Sam Burns, and Justin Thomas. All right. But if you look at some of those records, right, Jordan Spieth comes to mind. I think he's like, if he's below 500 in his Ryder Cup, I think he's like 8-7-3. Ricky Fowler's way below that. He's like 3-7-5. Justin Thomas has had a horrible season, especially of late. In the four majors this year, he had missed three of the cuts, right? He and in the one he made, he tied for like 65th, right? He's lost his game, if you would, the last probably quarter, at least third of the season. Now, he does have a great Ryder Cup record, 6-2-1, right? So you got to take in consideration the room, right? And here's the argument that I think a lot of people forget. Look, the U.S. team hasn't won in over 30 years on European soil. 30 years. So there's a lot of pressure on Zach Johnson and every U.S. team, Ryder Cup captain team, to win over there. 30 years is a long time, right? Not to win over there. So, and we've had some great teams, right? So, and what's interesting, I find interesting anyway, after every time we lose on European soil, all you hear about is the tenor of the locker room or the camaraderie of the European players, how well they get together or get along, how great the get-togethers are off the golf course, right? How gelled they are, what any acronym you want, right? But basically, the camaraderie, that's all we hear about. And if that's the reason we're losing over there, well, then how do you fault Zach Johnson for putting a team that has a lot of camaraderie? I mean, say what you want about some of these picks, right? And who wasn't picked, we're going to talk about in a minute. But these guys, they all like each other. A lot of them are friends. And a lot of them, half of them even live in, Koepka, Morikawa, Ricky Fowler, Sam Burns, Justin Thomas, Scotty Scheffler, even Sam Burns. They all have residences, right, in Southern Florida. So there's no argument that this group of 12 golfers, they like each other, right? Sam Burns, frankly, got on the team because he's one of Scotty Scheffler's best friends, right? Ricky Fowler is arguably one of the greatest guys on tour. Everyone loves the guy, right? And he's played well this season. Justin Thomas, again, what did Zach Johnson? I can't leave. There's no way you can leave him off. I mean, he's Mr. America, if you would, right? So I think when I look at this team, they're poised for a victory, right? And by the way, it's not just me that's saying that. I mean, prior to this prior to this podcast, I just went on FanDuel, right? And if you ever want to know, right, who's expected to win, just look at the Vegas odds, right? They're not wrong too often, right? The Vegas odds right now, as of today, to win 100, you want to bet $100 on the U.S. team, right? You got to put up 151, right? They're heavily, heavily favored. Likewise, you want to win $100 on the European team, right? Or if you put $100 on, you win 140, right? So the odds are stacked for the Americans, right? And look, honestly, I don't think those odds would have changed a whole lot if we switch some of the captain's picks around, right? And again, just in preparing for this podcast, look, I'm a pretty analytical dude, and I love numbers, right? If you just look at the world golf rankings, now you can make an argument, and I have made this argument many times, that the world golf rankings are a joke, right? Because they don't include the live golf guys. But that being said, right, if you look at the world golf rankings, right, and you just add up the rankings for the U.S. players, the top 12, and then add up and then divide by 12. So you add up all the rankings for the players, divide by 12. That's what you do on average, right? If you look at the world golf rankings for the Europeans and do the same, here's a difference. The U.S. golfers, their average ranking, right, is 11, right? So 11. The average of the European golfers is 30, right? 30. And then if you just take like the top 8 golfers, because you can make the argument that the top 8 on any one of the teams are going to play more matches, right? The U.S. drops to 7.8, and the Europeans is still hovering around 30. So that's all you need to know. You don't have to be a bookmaker. You don't have to be a propeller head to figure out, hey, the U.S. has a better team. So they're more skilled. They should win, right? And then if you throw in some camaraderie, man, the odds get even stronger for the U.S., right? So again, I don't know that a lot of things would have changed, right? Some notables that didn't make the team, Dustin Johnson sticks out to me, right? He's got a phenomenal presence and a phenomenal record, especially, look at 2021. I think he was in five Ryder Cup matches. He won all 5. I think there's only been like 3 Americans ever to do that. So that was kind of a snub, right? I didn't have the best year. I get it. And maybe he's not tight with these guys. Patrick Reed, right? Talk about Mr. America. Patrick Reed is great, has a good record and a great player when it comes to match play, right? Maybe one of the best. But look, he wasn't even going to get a sniff, man. I mean, he sued the PGA for crying out. They're not going to select him. There's just no chance. All right. Cam Young almost made it as a qualifier. I think he was like 8th or 9th in the Ryder Cup standings. So you could make an argument for him. You could make a strong argument for Lucas Glover. What a great feel-good story that guy is, right? 46 years old, terrible putter all his life. Missed famously missed 6-inch putts on tour over and over and over again. And, went to the long putter, actually just ordered Adam Scott's putter, right, from Lab Golf, and went on to win 2 back-to-back PGA Tour tournaments in a row. I mean, that's crazy, all right? And at 46, you could have thrown him a bone, man, right? Tony Finau, again, arguably one of the nicest guys on tour, right? Probably one of the nicest guys in the world, right? Everyone loves this guy. He's had a great season. I think he won like 5 or 6 times. Granted, he won some of these smaller events, but, a great guy. A favorite of mine to watch, maybe not a favorite personality, but Bryson. I mean, phenomenal, right? Just shot 58 in a tournament, followed by a 61 on a Sunday. I mean, again, you could make arguments for all these people that they could, and that's just a few that just come to my mind. I'm sure, there's other people, a lot of fans that love the live circuit. Look, they didn't even get a look. Most of these live guys didn't even get a sniff, right? Taylor Gooch, you think Taylor Gooch was even on Zach Johnson's mind? There's no chance. There's no chance. You know why? And this is my personal opinion, but I think it's pretty valid. Look, there's still a rub there. The PGA is still pissed off at these players, right? And some of the PGA players are still pissed off at the live guys. They got a lot of money, and now they're back. So, they're not going to get any sniff at this current, in this current environment. Maybe 2 years from now, maybe 4 years from now, yeah, maybe things are different. But look, it's not. It wasn't going to happen. It was not in the cards this year, right? So, look, I think at the end of the day, there is no controversy here, right? The captain picked his 6 picks for the right reasons. They were the best fits for the 6 qualifiers that made it naturally, if you would, or that are automatic selections. That's all. That's it. So, what other controversy can there be? There is none, right? He has to decide, and his assistants have to decide who are the best 6 golfers to fit with the 6 people that qualified. That's it, right? So again, there's plenty of arguments on a multitude of different sides or avenues, if you would. I don't know that any of them are valid. I really don't. And I got to tell you, I think the U.S. is going to kill him. I think the U.S. is going to dominate, right? I just hope that it's not so lopsided that it's over by like day 2, right? Because there's no better event when it's close, right? But I do think, for the obvious reasons that we just spoke about here, I do think that the U.S. is going to kill him. I could be completely wrong. God knows I've been wrong in the past, but I think I'm going to be spot on this one. So there you have it. Press the follow button below. Let me know if you have any questions, any concerns, anything for that, right? Thanks for tuning in. You can get us wherever you find your podcast. You should check out our site at magiccgolf.com, and you can follow us on all the social media platforms. So here's how you get the game you've always imagined.